Good morning everybody, and welcome to another fabulous morning in the Far Eastern Lake District. This is Shipman Knots. It's about 5:30 in the morning, which is around the time that the sun should be rising. I've been here for about half an hour, and as you can see we've got some absolutely wonderful low sitting mist that's covering the mountains. And for once, I've got absolutely super lucky because I'm now looking across at Tarn Crag, which was the hill that I was on in last week's video, and that's covered in mist. But here where I am in Shipman Knots, I've got a fantastic view of that. And so for once, I've got super lucky with the conditions. One of the disadvantages that I have when I come up hiking using this little camera, this Canon M50, is that I don't have a telephoto lens for it. I only have a 15-45. And on this crop sensor, 45mm is about 35mm equivalent of somewhere around 70-72mm. And I'm right at the extremities of that, trying to photograph the cloud that's laying on the hills in the distance. It's just not quite long enough. But there's also a real lack of contrast. I'm not sure how these shots are going to come out, if I'm honest. That one's going to come out overexposed. The sun's just peeked over the top of the mountains now, and it's very, very weak, so it's not a problem capturing it with this little camera without any grads or anything like that. And this is, I think this is a really special shot. I've stepped back now and I'm using this rock as some foreground interest, and then we've got the mountains and the low cloud in the distance, and now just this beautiful soft orange sun just peeking through the clouds. Absolutely gorgeous. I very nearly didn't make it out today. Had a really busy weekend and I was pretty tired. And I did have yesterday off, but I still felt knackered when I went to bed last night. And I set my alarm for 3 o'clock and it went off. And I could have very easily stayed in bed. I was very tired. But I decided against it. I decided to make the effort to come out. And boy am I glad I did, because I mean, this is incredible. I have just been so lucky with the conditions recently. Now that the sun has risen a bit higher, it's getting too harsh to shoot into. And so I've turned 90 degrees and I'm photographing the view towards Goat Scar. And that leads on up to Kentmere Pike in the distance. And again, I'm using this rock as a foreground. And it's got some beautiful lines leading off into the distance. It's a lovely composition. And there's just a little bit of that low cloud now on the top of Goat Scar. And again, this is another lovely shot. We've got some lovely, it's still quite soft, the light, but lovely side light now, which is going to make this shot, I think. Part of the reason why I wanted to come out this morning, and part of my motivation for pushing myself forward, is that I have the opportunity to get ahead of myself this week. This morning is Monday morning, and this video isn't due to go out until Friday. And we have some nice conditions forecast this week, so it should give me the opportunity to get out and shoot a few videos. I've also got a pal of mine coming up. I'm going to be up here for the weekend, and so lots of opportunities to get out and shoot. One of the advantages of getting ahead of myself is that I've recently been working with a friend of mine called Elliot, and he's been helping me with some content strategies for building my presence, some marketing strategies, particularly around my website and my email list. And I want to start to be able to create some content specifically for my website, to give people an incentive to sign up for my newsletter that I need to start creating. So Joe's been helping me with that, and there's some links to Joe's channel in the description below. Now, that aside, just being here and seeing this morning is motivation enough to keep me getting up and going out. I've done enough shoots now where conditions have been appalling and I've come away with nothing despite whatever effort I've put in, to really know to enjoy this. And for now, I think I'm going to put the camera away and just take it all in, because there's no photograph here really now, particularly in the direction of the sun that I'm looking right now. There's no contrast there. The autofocus on that little camera is really struggling. But that's not to say, just because there's no photograph, that it's not something out there to enjoy. If you've ever been lucky enough to see one of my camera club talks, you'll know that social media has always been a big motivation for me in my photography. Right at the early days of my YouTube channel, it gave my photography purpose, and it kept me going out. And the more I went out, the more I shot. And so it's been hugely important to me. That desire, that drive to come out and capture this fabulous landscape and to share it with everybody has always kind of kept me going forward. And today, now that I'm a full-time photographer, social media has a slightly different purpose, I suppose. It's very easy to think of it purely as a marketing tool. And a lot of my strategy around building my business is to constantly create content that reminds everybody that, hey, I'm a landscape photographer, I live in the Lake District, come and join me. But the biggest motivating factor for me is coming out and photographing these scenes and sharing it with everybody, be that on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or even Twitter. I've been very lucky over the last few years to be able to build a small but very loyal following on social media. YouTube is the biggest platform for me by a long way, then it's Instagram, and then Twitter, and then Facebook. But the most loyal and most supportive of the people that follow my journey are the people that read my blog. So each week I produce a blog article. It's like a diary, and in that I share what goes on behind the scenes, some of the shoots that don't make it onto YouTube, some of the highs and lows, how the business is going, how I'm feeling. And it's that and my website that Joe's trying to help me to promote and to build a bigger following on. Anyway, talking of my blog, I really ought to get a move on and get home, because, as I said earlier, I had yesterday off and it was lovely, but it does mean I'm a little bit behind. I haven't finished writing it yet, so I need to crack on and get that finished. If you're interested in reading that, I will leave a link in the description below. As I said, I had yesterday off, which was nice, but it does mean I'm a little bit behind. So I ought to really crack on and go and get that written. But if you are interested in reading this week's blog, I'll leave a description in the link below. Oh, I've had £1 for every time I've done that.